So a little bit of housekeeping. There are restrooms right behind that door. You can also exit there and kind of go around. The city of North Glen is the overview. We're going to start out with a few in the room and then give an overview of the evening and the facility, and then we are going to use the majority of our time hearing from you, because this night is for you. We want to hear your feedback, we want to hear your input, and we have set aside significant time for that. So before I get started, I want to introduce a lot of the elected officials that are in the room tonight. So we have our North Glen City Council. I'm going to say their name and I'd like them to stand up. So Ward 1, Nicholas Walker. Also Ward 1, Megan Burns. Ward 2, Adam Nowicki. Also Ward 2, Jay Jaramillo. Ward 3, Dr. Goff, Dr. Catherine Goff. And Ward 3, Richard Kondo. Ward 4, Jody Roper is in the room. I know, she's here, I saw her. And then also Ward 4, our Mayor Pro Tem, Shannon Lukman Hiramasa. We have additional elected officials in the room tonight, and I want to make sure that they are also recognized. We have our State House Representative, Jenny Wilford, on our panel, State Senator Kyle Mullica, and our District Attorney, Brian Mason. Did I miss anyone? Because it is a very crowded room. I want to make sure that everyone is acknowledged. Oh, I'm so sorry, and I even knew. Mayor of Thornton, Jan Coleman, and also, I just lost it. Yes, Councilwoman, I'm so sorry. Former Mayor Pro Tem, Jessica Sangren is here from Thornton. So having those Thornton partnerships are very important, and we're so grateful that they joined us tonight. I would like to have the panel members to each share their name and their position. So if you could start, we'll start right here.
My name is Heather Geyer. I'm the city manager.
Jim May, the police chief.
Randy Darlin, I'm the deputy chief of police.
Perry May, deputy executive director with the Department of Human Services.
Bonnie Wright, division director of the Mental Health Transitional Living Homes.
Jenny Wilford, state representative for House District 34, which covers all of North Glen and a portion of Thornton.
And I'm Brian Mason, the district attorney for Adams and Broomfield counties, which includes all of the city of North Glen.
Great, thank you so much. And so they are here to hear from you, and we're going to get started there. Really quickly, just to recap, I know a lot of you received a letter about a facility that is going into one of our neighborhoods, and it is very concerning, and we heard a lot of public comment. We received your phone calls, we received your emails. Many of you came to a council meeting and stood at the podium and shared your story, and we so appreciate that. We have really driven this information gathering. We do not feel like it was very transparent from the state. It was late information given to us, and as soon as we had it, we shared it with you. Our goal is to gain clarity and transparency. So many of you picked up a copy of a letter that I sent to our state Speaker of the House, McCluskey, and all of the bill's sponsors. So that letter was sent, and if you review that, you can get a lot of background into how we got here. So our goal is to, with the letter, we would like the Speaker to grant a late bill status because your State House Representative Wilford is ready to go. And so we need permission for that from the Speaker. Our police department has also been very engaged in this process. They have walked the facility with state staff. I want to turn it over really quickly to State Representative Wilford and see if she would like to make a short statement.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mayor Leidy. I don't quite know what to do with this, but I'm going to do the best I can. First, I just want to express gratitude for all of you coming out. I don't know about you, but I had a really difficult time finding a parking spot, which tells me that this is a pretty big deal to have all of you here together in one room. I have received your emails, I've received your letters, I've received your phone calls, and I've really appreciated every single one of you reaching out and expressing your specific concerns. I want to tell you that I share in your concerns and I share in your frustrations with this process. I want to be clear that I have done absolutely everything I believe that I can do as your state representative to get more information, to request transparency, and to really be clear about what our bottom line is, that no registered sex offenders reside in the mental health living facility. In particular, I have written a very long letter to the department with a lot of questions that your city council and your mayor and your North Glen staff have asked as well, and not had fully answered, or not fully had transparent answers, and that continues to be a concern. I've had meetings with the department, I've met with the governor's staff, House leadership, many of my colleagues, as well as the Colorado Municipal League, trying to identify what are the tools in our toolbox to be able to push back. And to Mayor Leidy's point, I did request a late bill from the Speaker and the Majority Leader, and have been relentless in that request, and I hope that it's granted. This evening, I'm here to listen, and to recommit to y'all that I'm going to keep pushing forward. But you all being here tonight sends a very strong message to the department that is with us on this panel, that this community is deeply concerned, and that this community deserves to be heard. So thank you all again for being here. I appreciate it, and I look forward to the robust conversation we're going to have.
Thank you. So the state senator that represents she is here. Faith Winter has just arrived. So we will let her make her way forward and see if she would like to make a statement.
Oh, I can just stand here. No one has to move. We've got a chair.
We had you on the program as part of the panel, so please join us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late. I am working diligently to hold the department accountable to how they make sure our community is safe. Most folks that go to prison come out of prison. And we have to decide how and when and where we handle that. And every local community has issues. But my top priority is making sure that they are talking to you all and promoting safety and promoting the right guardrails.
Okay. All right, now I'd like to hand it over to the Transitional Living Home to give an overview of the facility.
Yes, thank you. Again, my name is Perry May. I'm the Deputy Executive Director with the Department of Human Services. I have with me here Bonnie Wright, who is the Division Director for our Mental Health Transitional Living Homes. Thank you for having us here, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you, to be able to answer your questions, to hear your concerns. We appreciate the concerns and want to be as transparent as possible through this process. So I'm here in the interest of transparency and being able to talk through what these homes are doing, right? What they're set up to do. So I'm going to back up and tell you a little bit about how these homes were legislated back in 2022. A bill was passed by the legislature that required the Colorado Department of Human Services to create mental health transition living homes. The expectation is that we would create 125 total beds throughout the state of Colorado. The reason these homes were passed through legislation is because a gap has been identified in our continuum of services for people suffering from mental health issues. We have hospitals where folks can go when they are very, very sick, and those folks then need to leave the hospital. Typically, those folks are going to go straight back into the community, potentially with services, outpatient services and so forth, but they're going to end up back in the community. These homes are a transition for folks coming out of the hospital who are suffering from mental health issues, who would otherwise be in the community. All of these folks that we are going to serve would otherwise be in the community, but they're in these homes receiving 24-hour supervision and clinical services, and staff who are helping them figure out how to live on their own, how to become productive members of the community, how to get a job, how to budget, these kinds of things. Whatever the needs are of these folks that are coming out of our hospitals that need additional support, these homes are filling that gap. Instead of them going to the community, they are coming to these homes until we're in a place where they are safe to be back in the community on their own, without supervision and potentially with just outpatient services. The other way these homes are set up is that they're available for folks who are suffering from mental health issues in the community currently, but aren't meeting a hospital level of criteria, or potentially are not committing crimes and end up in jail. So these homes are being created so that folks in the community can move into these homes as well, get that 24-hour-a-day level of supervision, get those intensive clinical services, so that we can then get them back into the community so that they can be productive citizens, so that they can find jobs, find an apartment or a home to live in, and be productive members. So there's been a gap in our system between the hospital level of care and what we would call outpatient therapy. We need an opportunity for folks who are really struggling, who have a hospital stay of 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 3 months is not enough to get them stable, and they're in a hospital. They need an opportunity to be back in the community with supervision and with services in order to become stable and productive citizens living in the community. Once again, I say these folks are already in our community. They are either coming out of the hospital or are already in a position where they are very ill in the community, needing additional support. So that's what that's why this bill was passed by the legislature in 2022. That's why these homes were created, because at the end of the day, we're trying to make the community safer. We're trying to give people
Okay, we're gonna let him finish. We're gonna let this. The sooner he finishes, the sooner you have your time at the microphone. Thank you.
Put it in your community.
Okay, so we're really hoping for a civil discourse tonight, and I really appreciate your passion, but we're going to give the facility their ample time, and then we're going to hear from you, I promise.
So the last thing I think I will say, well, two more things. One, in terms of folks being admitted into these homes, we have a very comprehensive admission process where we gather all of their clinical information, we gather their criminal records, we gather if there have been risk assessments done, we gather all of that information and are making decisions about whether these individuals could be safe in this home and in the community. We have had, so far, I believe it's 99 referrals to these homes, and these homes are being stood up across the state. They're being stood up in Littleton, in Denver, in Pueblo, in Colorado Springs, so that folks can get these needed services in their community. We've had 99 folks referred, and we've denied 54% of those folks because we didn't think that they were safe to be in the community in this level of care, we would call it. So we have stood that up. I appreciate what you're saying. The elephant in the room, I want to speak to directly. So in terms of any folks who might be registered sex offenders that would move into these homes, once again, I'll take you back to what I was talking about earlier. These are folks who are already in the community. These folks, if they are registered sex offenders, have been determined that they can be in the community already. Without this level of service, they are living in the community without that supervision and without those treatment services. So these services are going to, once again, provide that 24-hour-a-day supervision and provide those intensive clinical services. And without these homes, those folks would be living in the community without 24/7 supervision and without potentially those clinical services. Bonnie, anything else that I forgot?
No, I think just highlighting, just highlighting the fact that we do have this admissions process. It's centralized. And the reason why we have that is so that we are making consistent decisions in terms of eligibility and placement. We really want to be sure that the folks that we're placing in these homes do in fact meet the criteria or eligibility for being served appropriately and adequately in these homes. And that's why we do it that way. That's why we have a lot of information that we gather, that we review. We talk to the treatment teams, which includes the psychiatrists, the psychologists, the clinicians, the social workers. We talk with the families that are supporting these individuals, and we talk with the clients themselves. We're gathering a lot of information, and we're talking to a lot of other individuals to be sure that we have a clear picture. If we don't receive the information that we've requested, we don't admit them. If we're missing information, we won't admit them. If there's anything that shows concern in terms of being able to be served in these homes, in this setting, we don't admit them.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Senator Winter a direct question because I know you were one of the bill sponsors of House Bill 22-1303. And so my recollection of looking at the committee hearings and listening to the debate around that bill, having registered sex offenders in those facilities was never discussed. Can you share with us that process from your perspective?
Yes, and thank you, Mayor. We really looked at holding this to rulemaking and ensuring the safety of communities and ensuring that you can laugh. That's fine.
It's not your child's school, is it?
I'm a member of this community.
Right. In Cherry Hill.
No, I'm not. Because I am looking up some statistics. I am a member of your community.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have
so-
2 children that go to the schools. So, STEM Lab.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
No, STEM Lab is on Irma and 117th.
So we're going to move on. I apologize. My intent. Yes. Can you tell us, was the intent to house registered sex offenders when you put the bill out to a vote?
So 90% of sex offenders harm people they know. No, So, my question to you, and I want to ensure safety. I want to ensure there's security at these facilities. I want to make sure our department is answering questions about security. I know they're not, and I'm asking them to.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stop. We're going to move into public comment because we do want to hear from you. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the rules, and then we're going to work the process, all right? Okay, so we have 2 microphones set up, and they each have an aisle. And so before you move, I'm going to give you all the directions, and then I'll release you. So we do want you to line up. You will get an opportunity to spend 3 minutes. We have a timer because we do want to hear from as many people as possible. So we will be running a 3-minute timer. You will get 3 minutes to say everything you want to say and to ask all of your questions. Now, here's the thing. In order for us to hear from as many of you as possible, we're not going to do a direct Q&A. So I'm going to ask, I want to make sure everyone on the panel has a writing utensil or a way to take notes. And they're going to be capturing your thoughts and your questions, and there will be an opportunity for them to respond. But we want to get as many voices in the room as possible. So this person will get their 3 minutes, and then that microphone will get 3 minutes, and we're going to go back and forth. And I know our council members are taking notes because they are here for you, and they want to hear what you have to say. So everyone is leaning in. We want to hear your comments, 3 minutes. And then we're going to ask you to step away, and the next person will get their turn. When you come up, we want you to say your name and tell us if you live in North Glen, and that is really helpful, or the city if you happen to live in Thornton or Westminster, or anywhere else. And then I will help you know whose turn it is. And we're going to get through as many people as possible. I also know that not everyone feels comfortable speaking in front of groups, and so we also have comment cards at the back, and you can get them on your way out. Please give us your name, contact information, your comments, and if you leave your contact information, we will respond back to you. It is very important that we stay connected. Okay. Ready, set, go. Okay, I'm going to give them just a minute to get themselves organized. Okay, we're ready to start. But we need quiet in the room. All right, I'm going to start here with this gentleman in the dad hat. All right, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Shane. I'm a North Glen resident. I have been for a very long time. First off, what kind of security is this facility going to be under? Is there going to be any sort of police presence constantly, or what is it going to be? And I mean, is this a final location? Is this set in stone? Is this where it's going to be, this location, and why? These people in the facility, are they allowed to come and go as they please? Is there some sort of curfew that they're under? What does that look like? Was the bare minimum distance really the only thing you guys looked at before deciding this was the facility you were gonna put this at? Because it's 8. I actually wrote it down. It is 897 feet away from Stookie Elementary School. It is 438 feet away from the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, which also does do children's activities during the summer, stuff like that. It is 1,073 feet away from an in-home daycare, 706 feet away from the canal, the Farmers Highline Canal Trail, which there's tons of families that use that every single day. I see it all the time. And 929 feet away from the community outreach center, which is used for adolescents and stuff like that, people like that going through mental health issues as well. I don't believe this is a place, this is not the place for it. There is a place for these people. They do deserve a chance, but this is not an appropriate location. I'm very happy that you guys are very comfortable with where this is at, but it is not next to your home, and it is not your children that these people are going to be around. So,
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Charlene Thompson. I actually work for Adams 12 Schools, and I've lived in Northglenn most of my life. It's not only the Stookie kids, but Northglenn. I live right by this place, by the way. All those apartments, you have middle schoolers walking to Northglenn Middle School. You're going to have a swimming pool opening up down there. We have Webster Lake that's not far from there. I just don't get it. Why you would put a facility like this with so many children around. Put them out in the country somewhere. Yes, people deserve a second chance, but not in the middle of a community.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Luann McCain, and I live in Northglenn. State of Colorado, I'm going to be transparent with you tonight. Bonnie and Faith Winter, you never considered the people that would be affected by this. Children, young women, young men, veterans with PTSD. I'm a veteran with PTSD, and I suffer from military sexual trauma. I'm 700 feet from that place. So I have a question. Since this housing was forced upon us, could the city of Northglenn have a full-time police officer paid by the state of Colorado to monitor these houses? And what is the curfew policy? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Heather. I live in Northglenn, and both of my children do attend Stookie Elementary. My son is almost 9 years old, and when he heard about this from a staff member at the school that told him there would be very, very bad people down the street, he is terrified to go to school. My little girl is tiny and cute as can be, and I'm sure no parent likes the thought or can even imagine their children being idolized by people, especially when they're right down the street. They can stop at the chain link fence wherever they go and look at these little kids and idolize them for whoever knows how long. There is a big difference between people who need mental health treatment and offenders that are going to damage our community and damage our little kids. So my only question is, what is the protection for the kids going to be? I know Northglenn does the best that they can, but their SRO takes care of many schools. They don't have enough cops to be there 24/7. So when the cop is there, he can't watch all the kids that after school that's running to go find their parents, walking home. So what protection is going to be there for the children?
Thank you. Ma'am.
Hi, my name's Kathleen Gattino. I live in Thornton, but I go to church and work and taught at Immaculate Heart of Mary, first graders. And when I was in the first grade and my sister second grade, we got picked up by a man walking home from school. He went to prison, and thank God he did, but it was very traumatic. And I don't want any little kids to ever have to go through that, because even when we were in high school and had to take the achievement tests, guess who was there giving them? As a rehabilitated sex offender. And it was not good. I don't want to see anybody around here like that. Yes, they do deserve a chance to have a normal life, but not in this community. There's just too many kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. So I'm nervous, but my name is Melanie Buffington. I have two children that go to Stookie Elementary. One is a little girl in kindergarten, and another boy, he's in 4th grade, and he's 9 years old. One question that I have is, if this is set in stone and our voices aren't heard, and y'all go ahead and go through with this, are these sex offenders going to be on an ankle bracelet? So they are being monitored if they're going so close to a school that it's not appropriate. That's my first question. And, I kind of think it's setting them up for failure as well, like putting them right next to students and children for them to gawk at. And also, if this is a substance abuse program that they're trying to, I think it's also setting them up for failure because there's liquor stores and dispensaries locally. So,
Thank you.
My name is Shirley Sumner, and I live in Thornton. And my question is, are the counselors well trained in fetal alcohol effects, ADD, ADHD, bipolar, and all the other illnesses that these kids have, or that these people have? Because each one of these is treated differently. My daughter and son-in-law recently, in fact on February 14th, brought in their 4th adoption child. She's 17. She's been from one home to another, and she just got out of one of these facilities. And every time they would go visit her, she had bruises. She had a pillow put over her mouth. She had all these things because these people have no idea how to work with these different kinds of illnesses. And so that's my question. I want each of these people in the facility to have the correct treatment because they are all different. Thank you.
Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Justina Mardenska. I actually used to live in this community. I am advocate for the ESO population. Mr. May, Ms. Wright, and Ms. Winter, thank you so much for actually being here. I think this is a controversial subject always. I've been testifying multiple times. For all of you, ladies and gentlemen, if you SO, you have a very intensive probation or parole. You're going to be placed on an ankle monitor. This is mandatory. You actually have to attend your treatment, which is either individual or in the groups. So the recidivism on the SO, it's only 7.7%. And this is 14 years of Department of Justice. When you have drug dealers, and you have also people who actually sell the drugs around the community, it's 68% of the recidivism. So do your math, because you are about the children, but you absolutely have no compassion and understanding for anybody else who suffers from the mental health and have no place to go. It's embarrassing to listen, all of you. Embarrassment. And in my opinion, Mrs. Winter, thank you for put up and have your voice and being heard. And Ms. Wright, I know your story. Thank you, Mr. May. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We're... Okay. Oh. Simmer down. Simmer down just a little bit. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah Martinez, and I just have a few questions for you guys. Did you guys even look at the area before you decided to make this into a transition house? I could say at 7:30 a.m., okay, you'll see kids walking right in front of that facility. Unattended. No parents. But I think that's going to change now, right? Because people feel unsafe. And then at 3 o'clock as well, you'll see them go home. Right on the corner, there's a bus stop. Across the street, what he didn't mention was it's called the courts, where youth basketball plays and sports are played. Okay? Did you guys even consider that, for one? Okay? 2, what guarantees can you give us that something won't happen? I'm serious. What guarantees can you give us? Also, what definitive rules do you have in place to prevent incidents from happening. And can you guys give that to us tonight? I don't think you can. We started a petition, okay, that we don't want this in our community at all. Did you guys even consider as well, right behind the facility, there's a family that lives there with kids? No, you guys didn't. They play back there. Also, what I found was hilarious, they decided to put lattices up in front.
Oh, yeah.
So they can't see, you can't see them, but they can see you. I recommend, we don't have this in here. We don't have this facility at all. And if not, I don't want to vote any of you guys in. You guys have a good night.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Marilyn Tanny, and I live in North Glen. I also want to know, Heather, when did you know about this project? I'd like to know that. Also, and Jenny, why didn't you tell her? She's our city person. You're a legislator. You bring that news from the Capitol in Adams County here, our county, that you should inform such a situation. This is not minor. This is a major situation of residential progress in trying to make a family of North Glen and live in North Glen. A lot of the people are thinking, we have to leave North Glen because we're not staying for this, which that's their prerogative. Also, we do not have the police power. Is the state going to help us with that? We do not have in our budget, which I went to one of the meetings in North Glen, and we don't have enough budget to get the policemen out there to do their jobs as far as patrolling the rest of our community and keeping us safe as people. What is the state going to do about that? And also, this Cypress Cares does not mention in their article on the computer about sexual offenders. It doesn't. It says, and I quote, "We specialize in generic care, including dementia, Parkinson's disease, memory care, as well as mental health, and bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, PSD, and other mental health diagnoses." Excuse me, where did the sex offenders come in? And I know this bill was approved on May 18th of 2022.
What's the vote?
And so therefore, legislative, you pull this out of your pockets to think this is going to make a small city who knows nothing, and we are awake. We want our city back, and we want it working.
Thank you.
Hi guys, thanks for coming out. My name is Isabel. This is my daughter Ottilia. I just want to start by saying, sorry, I've never admitted this, but when I was her age, I was a victim of sexual assault. So you guys already put me through the trauma. I tried to already sell my house and I can't. I'm a stay-at-home mom. My husband works for UPS. Long hours. This is not cool. It's not safe. And to speak on your comment, that was very rude. I think people deserve second chances. This is an injustice to them. There is a pot store across the street. There are children across the street. There's a liquor store across the street. There is a park that North Glen has homeless all over the place. We go there every day. My question to the officers are, how are we going to stop them from going under us and going into that homeless? What is going to happen when they're in the homeless and we have all of our migrant families that have no supervision? All of those kids out there barely speak English, and they don't have parents out there. I go to the park every day and see them out there. And I appreciate you guys, North Glen, for sending the Spanish letter, but I don't know where those families are from. I think they're from a Middle Eastern country. Who's going to look after them? Because if they're victims of sexual assault, who's going to listen to them? And who is going to warn them? There are kids out there all the time. This is not cool. And I want to say again, I believe in second choices, but I don't believe we should put them on a pedestal over our children. Okay? That's not cool. Thank you for coming out and giving this community an opportunity to speak. But I'm telling you now, if it goes up, I'm not going to sit down for it, and I hope none of you guys do either. Nope. This is not going up in our community, guys. Won't let it do it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Long.
Tim Long, North Glen. 4 questions. Number 1, this is from the Department of Human Services, Office of Civil and Forensic Mental Health. I would like to have the definition given by the experts here, the subject matter experts, if they can tell us what forensic mental health really is about, because I know it's tied into the criminal justice system, and there's been no mention made of that whatsoever by the podium members. Second question. Is this not Governor Polis's roundabout way of doing his rezoning that he pushed last year and failed in the very last part of the legislature, of which our Representative Jenny Wilford supported the governor 100% on that rezoning? Because the state controls this property, there is no city ordinance that oversees this, and it's a roundabout way of making zoning take place without the proper authorities recognized. Third question. According to an executive order through the President of the United States, every facility such as this, health centers across the United States, are to engage in on-site voter registration. So here we go. All the waiting rooms, all the outpatient services, all the things that take place by law through the state's departments, as well as federal agencies, are to engage in on-site voter registration, just to say it again. Fourth question, and what is that going to be taking place, is the question. Council members in North Glen always talk about wanting more transparency, but the intensive use of city staff time and other resources, the speed at which things are happening, and at times the lack of clarity around the initiative, this initiative, has drawn criticism from inside and outside City Hall. But transparency for this city council is not your strong suit. How did Jenny Wilford not know that this was taking place? When her BFF at the state legislature is Faith Winter. Those two are connected at the hip, and I must say, so is most of the Mayor Leidy's team, along with the minions on City Council. You followed their lead, and how come you didn't know about it? And those are 4 good questions. I want to know how you didn't know about it before this, because in January is when you first heard about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello to all my friends. My name is Becky Brown. I'm a previous council person for Ward 2, termed out in December of this year, so I've just recently termed out. I don't think, if you know me, I don't think that you would find, or you would be hard-pressed to find somebody who's more of an advocate of our homeless and our addicted population. Having lived through that with family members, I can tell you honestly, I spoke to my daughter, she said, I can't move over there, there's a liquor store. So we're gonna put this by a liquor store where we already know that we have alcoholics who are still addicted. I don't care if you put them in a 30-day program, a 50-day program, they have challenges afterwards, and you're not being responsible by that. So here's my first statement, and then I'm going to move into a couple of my questions. What is happening here is among a plethora of examples that we in Colorado have put up with from the state of Colorado for not being transparent. We've learned a lot of difficult lessons in the last 2 to 3 years, but it has to stop. Our voices have to be made clear. We are a city that is 7.7 square miles. You mean to tell me you couldn't find a bigger city to put it in? I mean, that is just ridiculous. The head of this department, Mr. May, is willingly going to place a home for convicted sex offenders and severely mentally ill people. Whoops, I'm sorry, it just keeps going off. Trust me, you want to hear what I have to say. And severely mentally ill people, including children, or no, not there, near our children, is appointed by the governor. He's not elected, but he was appointed, and he was appointed to look out for us. But unfortunately, that's not the role you're going to take. You're going to take the role of screwing this entire town that I love. I have lived in North End for 28 years, and my house is going on the market. Because this is an overstep by the state of Colorado to even think that they can sneak beds in at night, and residents aren't going to see it, you know, and the residents have seen it over and over and over again. You're not being transparent. If you have to bring beds in the middle of the night, you are not being transparent. And one thing I learned on city council, as my fellow city council people did, you have to be transparent or you're going to suffer the ramifications. And Mr. May, you better watch out because when Polis is gone, you're going to be gone too. And trust me, I can only thank God that faith is term limited and we don't have to deal with that. The one thing that I want to say about my elected officials, I sent everybody emails. I sent you an email and never got a response. The only person who bothered to respond to me, who bothered to call me and listen to me, was Jenny Wilford. The only one. And that needs to be spoken about. I don't know if you know this, but we went nationwide. I had a friend of mine call me from Massachusetts and say, what's going on in Northland? Countrywide, you've made such a positive experience for everybody. You've screwed yourself up. I'm almost done. I'm getting to
like you're out of time.
I'm getting to my question. Was St. Anthony's, which has been empty for 5 years, and a previous facility, ever looked at for this? There's nobody in there. There's nothing going on there. Why was that not looked at?
Thank you.
No, one more. Then I want to bring up the fact, and this will be my last one. You put a facility in Highlands Branch, and you put it in a non-residential area. Is that because they make more money than us? They pay higher taxes? What the hell is up with that? I am forgiving. I am all for second chances. What I'm not for is lack of transparency and the way that it was done. And I don't want sex abusers or critically, mentally ill people to affect our most vulnerable population, our children, our autistic residents, the
Mrs.
nursing
Brown,
home.
thank you.
I know.
Thank you. I know. I appreciate it. Hi.
My name is Wesley Dunbar. I serve on the diversity board here in the city of North Glen. I'm a resident of North Glen. But this evening I wear my pastor's hat. I'm pastor of St. John's Lutheran Church in Thornton. And I may be unique in this room, maybe not, but I have served a congregation that received back into the community a sex offender that had served his time. So I agree with the questions about transparency. That seems to be a significant issue. In our small little community in Wisconsin there was no issue with transparency. Everybody knew everybody was related to everybody, and everybody knew who Jim was and what it was all about. Who lived next door to the church. So I have experience. So the question is, have you engaged community members, community people who are willing to receive back into the community the elephant in the room, sex offenders, but any offenders? And how are they going to help them? Because you're not going to get, sorry, there are no guarantees. You know that. There's no guarantees on what you're going to be able to control, put police officers, all of that stuff. Until the community embraces, and I'm guessing 2 to 3% of you would be willing to embrace. Most of you want to do what we were doing on Friday to Jesus, so to these sex offenders. And I understand that. So But God raises the dead too. So community, what are you going to do to embrace and receive back into the community? If this is a done deal, doors closed and locked, what are you going to do? You going to be abusive, or are you going to try to protect your children? Absolutely. So, but unfortunately, a meeting like this creates more heat than light, more reaction than response, but the issue of transparency is real. And that doesn't seem to have, it's clearly not satisfied this room. You know, it didn't satisfy me when I heard about it. I was shocked and getting emails and things from, what's the dice board going to do about this? And I respond as a pastor in the community, and we have an early learning center at our building as well. It's in Thornton, it's 110th in Colorado, so it's not close, but that doesn't mean that it's not important. What 4 people can you find here? What 10 people can you find here that are also going to be willing to receive back into the community? Because it's going to take more than you. It's going to take more than a building and ankle bracelets, and those are all outside things, honestly. So you got to deal with people. How are you going to deal with a group of people, a group of voters, unfortunately, who are, so, yeah.
Thank you, Pastor.
My name is Kathy Hill. I reside in Thornton. And this is what I wrote. My response to signing the petition that the young lady started. I'd like to read it. Such a slap in the face to the residents of this North Glen neighborhood. Of all the open space and more remote areas in Colorado available to rehabilitate serious offenders, the state takes it into their own hands to execute a plan, and without foreknowledge to residents, to house registered sex offenders in the middle of a neighborhood of families with children near schools and in an area already dealing with crime and homelessness. Citizens, this is a serious matter on several levels. It's time to wake up, fight for your safety, for your neighborhood. This is not the state's, it is yours. You're the people. The government is to work for the people. They're of the people, by the people, and for the people. Overall, and this is the most important to me, overall, in this immoral, godless society, there's an agenda to corrupt and destroy the child. These offenders do not need to be in the middle of a neighborhood like this to transition. I pray they truly desire to change. There are those who do. However, putting temptation right in their face every minute of every day, it's like putting alcohol in a recovering alcoholic's home and expecting them never to drink. I'm appalled at how the world in general has little respect for children, from child trafficking to child porn to taking unborn lives by heinous abortion, which is murder, as though they are disposable. It's obvious the state of Colorado knew they would come against opposition if they announced beforehand what they proposed to do before proceeding with their agenda. Again and again, the liberal agenda stomps on others to promote itself. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding North Glen is only the second of 12 such planned locations in the Denver metro area. And I believe one of you mentioned that up here already. I stand on God's holy word. That's how I stand, the Holy Scriptures. Children are a gift from God and are to be protected and loved. And it is obvious here that these families desire to protect them, and it's up to all of humankind to protect children from all forms of evil and wrongdoing. Furthermore, God's word, the scriptures say, if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. I challenge those whose decision it will be to accept or deny the location of this facility to carefully consider the repercussions that may occur because of it, because you will be held responsible. Maybe not during your time on this earth. However, all will one day stand in front of the judgment seat of God and be held accountable for their every decision and action. In closing, I say, and not just I, but the Lord God, protect the family,
Protect the children. Yes, Colorado, help those who desire to change in their lives. And let's use wisdom in how we go about it.
Thank you,
in
ma'am.
closing, I say,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Terry Erickson. Sorry. I know the problems with sex offenders and what they do to children because I was one. I've worked with them the majority of my life in the medical field. I've seen the internal, external, mental, physical damage that they do. And I'm not saying we need to expedite them somewhere, but they need to be away from all these children. There's so many children in this neighborhood. We can't watch them all, and you all can't watch them. I know a lot of you have seen so much damage done to a lot of these children too, that have been sexually abused. And it's not fair to them. It is not fair. They should not have to pay the price for what these people have done to other people, to other children. Because it is a matter of time before one of them will grab one of these children, and I think you all know that. There are many other places where they can be placed other than in the area. I have, we all need to be rehabilitated in one sense or another, but they don't need to be around all these children. They do too much damage to the children especially. And it's so hard. How can you do that? How can the state allow it? For your benefit? That's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Luann Lyons, and I live in North Glen. My husband and I raised our family here. We moved here in 1983. Our children and our grandchildren went first to Holstrom and Stookie, or all the schools here in North Glen. Do any of you know what it's like to be molested or sexually assaulted by somebody? One of you. I do. And I ended up having a mental breakdown because of it. It took me years to be able to stand up and say this out loud, let alone not break into tears. And I've been very lucky to have my husband with me to stand with me all this time. Who are you going to stand with? The children or the pedophiles? There is no curing them. I don't care what anybody says. The man that assaulted me assaulted many before me and many after me. And in the state of Colorado, he got away with everything because he decided to commit himself to a mental institution for 3 months. Oh, he's cured. We're not going to give him any prison time. Well, God paid him back. He died of prostate cancer. But I do not want to see anybody's child go through what I did. How many children commit suicide because they were molested by a friend, a family member, a stranger? How many? Do you know? How do you know they're not going to recommit? And you're going to have to tell me when my 3 minutes are up, because okay. There are schools. At-risk seniors, we're talking about the children, but there's at-risk seniors. They live across the street. There is a low-income housing with children. There's an a massive amount of apartments. I watch the kids every day. You know, they used to have those little black hands on your doors that a child knew where there was a safe house. Those people were checked out. They had to be safe. If the state of Colorado and their liberal ass thinking wants to put it there, then please allow the police to investigate people that'll put those handprints back on their door for protect our children, because the state of Colorado does not protect their children.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir.
Yeah, there, I got it back in. My name's Alan Kleeman. I live in North Glen, Ward 1. And it's not too far from this area, which is just across behind Washington, one more street. So, first of all, I support everybody here who has already spoken. I won't repeat that. So, one question here is, who is going to, and it's very nebulous so far what I've heard, who is going to actually run this facility? Will it be state run, or will it be a contractor run under a state agency? That needs to come out. That information needs to be disseminated to our city so that we can get the information. Because we have no clue what's really going on here. It's the first one. The lady before me she finally spoke about the senior center. I think that's the one on the north, across from the Catholic Church. Those people are very vulnerable, and they can be taken advantage of, along with everybody else that has already been mentioned. So that's my comment. I have one other thing. Are there other centers available, such as a center run off of I-76 and Dahlia on the north frontage road? There's one there that houses people getting out of. And I think there may be one over on Old Wadsworth and 107th, but I'm not sure on that. So that's all I've got to say. I've voiced my support for everyone else here. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Jeff McClure. I live in Thornton. I go to IHM over here. I appreciate a lot of what a lot of you people do. I really do, and I really appreciate our police force. But I have to say that this really affected me. I agree with helping people out with mental issues. I have people in my own family who have had that. However, that being said, growing up, I grew up in a family where there was a lot of that kind of abuse happening. And it affects me to this day. I pray for the kids all the time because I have seen repeat offenders from my own family, not to mention people around me. And it's a very hard thing to admit as anybody, especially a man, that you had to go through that. And part of my family lives in another state who has very similar facilities, and they made a very similar decision to what's happened here. My niece lived 900 feet from this facility. And what that guy did to her, I don't think she's ever going to recover. So, I obviously don't have much more to say, but there are other facilities. I drive around this city, I drive through Commerce City doing my job, and I see empty facilities that could be chosen other than here. Because one of the things I haven't heard anybody say is that North Glen does a bunch of festivals, and it's a perfect place to snatch a kid, much less an adult. So it's just, it's setting it up for a really bad situation, and there's been too many times where I've been in a state where they've made a decision and people like this came out and said something, and then when something happens, somebody from the state says, well, nobody could foresee this happening, when you have people telling you here today that we're foreseeing something happening. So please, I know the decision's hard, but please reconsider.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Valerie Carter. I have kids that go to Stookie and North Glen Middle. I live in Thornton and have choiced my kids into North Glen because I also went there, grew up there, love it. It's a great community. I'm here for the students of Stookie today. You could have picked any school to put this by, but you picked Stookie. Stookie is a Title I school. Do you know what that means to be a Title I school? If you don't, let me school you. What that means is 40% of those students qualify for low-income lunch and housing. 40%. I happen to know that Stookie is a lot higher than that, okay? What does that mean for kids who come from a Title I school? Let me tell you what that means. Lack of parental support due to many students being in poverty, which means one parent or both have to work all the time. So kids are walking to school by themselves. They're walking home by themselves, in groups of students by themselves. They get home to a home with no parents. So that will be hours, God forbid something happens, before anyone even realizes a child is gone. Students in Title I also suffer from trauma, from the trauma they've lived. Let's talk about their mental health, okay? Who's rehabilitating them? Their parents, right? We want to talk about these people who've had choices. Let's talk about true mental health. Anxiety, I have it. OCD, I have it. But I've never wanted to touch a child or take one. Okay, so let's not pretend sex offenders fall in the same category as true mental health. Let's get to the real bottom of this, okay? For you, Mr. May, who says, well, they would have been in the community anyway. Well, just because I got mugged in a park twice doesn't make it okay. Title I also means lack of extracurricular activity. I happen to know Stookie does lack that. The things they do have are after school. Parents are not around after school. That means they're leaving school late hours. Are we thinking about the kids in any way? No. Let's talk about the schools, right? Title I school, Stookie Elementary. Students are academically disadvantaged in a Title I school. So all those things I've just noted you, don't you think parents have enough on their hands to worry about than this?
Thank you, ma'am.
One more thing. Okay. Let's talk about mental health. How do you think all these parents' mental health is right about now?
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kristen Gates. We've owned our house since 1971, and we're about a block and a half from the facility. I'm kind of disappointed because we did not receive one of the letters. I found this out from a neighbor. So I work for the third largest city right now in Colorado. I'm a zoning officer. Every day I'm out dealing with those who are experiencing homelessness in their camps. I know a lot of them are going to be your potential clients due to their mental incapabilities. I go to the sites every day. I walk through their camps every day. I wear a uniform that looks like our police officers look like. You know, I go in with a vest. I worked for another city, and they had similar facilities, but they had it in the industrial area of the city. I would go in and do inspections in there. I never felt so dirty in my life the way I would be looked at, and I'm in a uniform, and I didn't feel safe going in there. My also question though is, if you're also having addicts in the program going through with people that are experiencing addiction issues, if they don't have money, what's going to stop there being other crimes happening in the neighborhood? What's going to stop them from not going out and breaking into a house, breaking into a car to get to the pot shop, to get to the liquor store? There's going to be crime increase in that area. My mom is 81 years old, and what if they break into her house? I have a gun. I will use it if I have to. Sorry, Chief May. I don't want to get myself in trouble there, Chief. Thankfully, he knows me. But, so, my concern is I see this every day. I work in the field every day. Sex offenders, someone made a comment that they wear ankle monitors. That is not true. I know that for 100% fact that sex offenders, not all sex offenders wear ankle monitors. I know a lot of them that are experiencing homelessness who register themselves at the corner of Colfax and Yosemite, for instance. If they don't have a house to live, they're going to register at a corner, an intersection, which is allowed. They do not wear monitors like has been told people. So they have no way to find a lot of these people. If they're not being registered, if they're not going for the registrations, a lot of times the police officers can't find them. And who's to say that they're not going to skip on you guys? And like I say, my concern also is with the elderly in the area, the crimes of opportunity that could happen. So that's all I ask, is that you take further consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. Much like, I'm sorry I missed your name, but I don't have many questions because many of them were already asked. But here really to ensure that you see another face that is opposed to this move. My wife and I and family moved here about 7 years ago. My children attend or did attend Stookie Elementary, so in a lot of the same situation as many others here. I do want to share a disappointment. I did not receive the letter about this either. So we did find out through the school that this was happening. But I also want to share a bit more disappointment around, we've used the word transparency a lot here this evening. Transparency should be done ahead of time versus when it's brought to attention. I feel kind of hoodwinked with this whole scenario. And you talked about these individuals being in the community already. We understand there's bad people in the community. However, it's an insult to the intelligence of this community to liken what your approach is to rehabilitation, to physical ailment and mental ailment. You mentioned the hospital. I think it's a different scenario there. And I was disappointed with not being prepared for this meeting tonight. You're here on your cell phone looking up stats. You should have been ready to speak to this community here. It's an embarrassment. It's an insult. Okay? And I don't expect a rebuttal. We're not doing a back and forth, I believe is what Mayor said. So, okay, that's fine.
And to be fair, I was invited to this meeting and I was not told I was on a panel.
Okay, well, it's okay. It's all right, I appreciate that, and understood.
Okay, at this point, Senator Winter, you are taking
Understood.
over this gentleman's time, so we're going to let him finish.
However, the one question I did have, you mentioned criteria to enter the facility. What does that criteria look like? And what happens to those that don't meet the criteria? That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Nicholas. I'm 19. I live in Thornton, and I've gone to Immaculate Heart of Mary every Sunday for as long as I've been alive. I would be one of the individuals living with the consequences of y'all's actions. My main question is this: how has this been judged to be acceptable? Sex offenders in the state of Colorado have a 45% recommit chance. With every sexual offender placed in this facility, you're making a coin flip as to whether they will abuse again. I did not hear from any of you, why does it need to be a singular block from a church and a very short distance from a school? In the letter you all have given us, it proves there is intention to house these individuals near these communities. Has there been any disclosure to the church or to the communities around this facility, as is law around sexual offenders? If this does occur, I hope when I am of age to take one of your positions and do what is right. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Mesa, and I grew up in North Glen. I went to Westview Elementary. I walked to school. I walked to Huron Middle School. For those of you who have been longtime North Glen residents, you know Huron. And I came back to this community to raise my children in this community because it has parks, because it is safe, and it has a community, as evidenced by this. I hope that you are sitting here today feeling really smug in yourselves because you are the faces of this, even though it may not have been your decision, and I apologize for that. You named multiple times that they would be out in the community otherwise. So this is a better alternative. That was your standing point. However, part of the registry is that I can monitor who lives near me, and then I can educate my children on how to keep themselves safe. There are bad people in this world, and we are afraid of saying that, but my kids know that there are bad people. However, you are intentionally putting those bad people into our communities near places where others are charged with their safety: schools, churches, parks, bus stops. I'm not there. Are you seriously saying that children should not be able to walk to school anymore? That the rights of offenders are superseding our children's rights? We need community support to ensure that we have the tools to keep our kids safe, and putting registered sex offenders in their direct path is not it. It is less about the folks who've made poor choices and need a second chance, because there are no second chances for sex offenders. I was part of the Community Co-Policing Board, and I have a deep understanding of our police department. These officers are the most dedicated and phenomenal officers in the metro area. There will absolutely be an increase in calls for service due to this new facility. We are a small but mighty community, and we want to know what the plan is to increase police funding to ensure the safety of our community. And where would that come from? Because money doesn't come from anywhere. It's a budget. So what programs would we have to cut to fund this? The residents or the offenders are supervised, but that does not mean that they are not stalking, idolizing, planning, and preying on our community, our vulnerable citizens, and our children. We are prioritizing offenders over our community, and we will not stand for it. Seems like a done deal, but you better believe that our community will not stand for this, and you have not heard the last from North Glen, because we are small and mighty.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Linda Sneed, and I am the resident that has almost 100 feet of fence that is connected to this property. I for 20 years have been taking care of my grandchildren in my safe neighborhood at my home. And I do not feel safe thinking about that drug dealers, drug people, whatever, will be throwing things over my fence. I want a tall fence, a really tall fence that nobody can throw something over my fence so that I have to continue looking all over while my 3 preschoolers go out in my personal backyard. And thank you. And I have to say, I am the most proud of my neighbors, my community. This is my community. I've been here almost my entire life. This is my community. But I do not have representation of our immigrant population that goes to Stookie. And one of our ladies so adequately said what is going on with our Title I school. This is a school and children that I have to watch them go back and forth, worrying about them even because there is no parents available because I know where they work. I know the long hours they work. Trying to make freedom here in the United States, being in Afghanistan, being across the seas, all the way from Afghanistan all the way to Asia. These people have come to North Glen, and they don't have time, and they aren't even knowing that this meeting is going on because many of them can't even speak English. And I want to compliment that Stookie is very good, extraordinarily good, at teaching those children English so that they can do well in our country. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, which I think is very important, and that is that if we want people to succeed and get free from drugs, now we've talked plenty about having to do with the sex offenders, we need to have them in a place where they can't walk 5 minutes or jump my fence and rob me and then have money to go 5 minutes away and get drugs and alcohol. We need to really consider, if we're going to help people, find the right places to help them, not in unsafe situations for them either. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love you, Northwood.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Corrine, and my husband and I purchased a home that backs to E.B. Raines Park 18 years ago. We did not have any children. I now have an 11-year-old and a 2-year-old. My eldest does not attend Stookie or Studio. However, I am here to voice my opinion and the disbelief that this is even considered in an area so close to kids, so close to 2 schools, the nursing home. Many of the points I was going to make have already been made. But have you walked the path that those kids walk? Many of them walk to Webster Lake Apartments, to those townhomes that are down the street from me. There's a very dense area crossing a bridge through that park where a child can be snatched very quickly, hidden. You have not considered that. Aside from the mental health individuals who do deserve to get back into the community and be a productive member. But as many have said, this facility in our city, which is extremely small, is not the right place. There are drug users at E.B. Rain Parks. There are homeless people at E.B. Rain. I do not take my children there because of that, because I do not feel safe, and it is in my backyard. It is extremely convenient for me to walk through my gate and walk to that park. Now I have to worry about mental illness, and yes, I understand that they're being rehabilitated. I understand that they will be on medication. I have to worry about additional sex offenders. I too am aware of the sex offenders that are in my neighborhood. My child, knows exactly where to stay away from, okay? I have educated her. I have shown pictures, okay? But I am also a helicopter mom because the innocence of our children is not worth anything, including allowing a facility for adults who are mentally ill or have committed a crime against a child. It needs to be somewhere that is out of the community, away from children, away from drug users, away from marijuana shops, away from a liquor store, away from the elderly, away from church. You are right next door to a church. Just because this facility became available doesn't mean it's the right fit for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Rebecca. I'm the mother of one of the 3 preschoolers Linda Snee talked about. She is my mother. We have lived in that house for 28 years. I am a Colorado native. I've lived in Northglenn since 1996. I love this city. I love it so much, my husband and I bought a house in this city. We want to stay here. My concern is I have a 5-year-old little girl, one of those preschoolers that my parents so graciously watch, so my husband and I can go to work and provide for our family. And now my first thought is, boop, drug paraphernalia over the back of their private fence. And my 5-year-old daughter, my 4-year-old nephew, my 2-year-old niece wouldn't have any cause not to pick that up because they're in Grandma and Grandpa's backyard. They are in the safety of their grandparents' backyard. Why in the world would you choose that location? So many other people have made some wonderful points, so I won't repeat them. I will not. But this is terrifying to me. The thought of leaving my children with my parents now used to bring safety and security. Now I feel I need to be calling them every hour. Is there anything in the backyard? Is there anybody whispering through the fence and asking for them to come and get some candy? I am not saying that I'm not for the second chances, because I have a brother, drug and alcohol. I've seen it, I know it, it sucks. It's the most awful thing. But if I had to pick between him and my child, I would pick my child every time. I understand you guys need to find a facility. This is not it. Stookie Elementary, I drop my girls off every day, 6:45 in the morning. Grant, those kids are walking, they're by themselves. I circle around them to make sure there's nobody just pulling around watching them as we go, just to be sure. And they're walking back. None of them speak English. There's a very small percentage, and I worry about them because there are no parents. There are no parents whatsoever. And there are so many other options that could be so much better. And I understand, I see both sides. I really do. But I would pick my children any day, as much as I love my brother. But they made their choices. These children do not have that choice. You've taken it away from them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Elias. I'm a resident of Thornton, but I have a family that lives in Northglenn, very near Stookie. I have 2 children, small children, 5 and 6 years old. I'm a veteran, served 13 years in the Marine Corps, and thank you. I'm stating that to provide some context with a future comment. I too was sexually abused as a child, okay? And I've had to deal with a lot of the repercussions from that. I'm not gonna sit here and ask a bunch of questions because it sounds like things have already been done. What's done is done. Well, okay, we don't know. The point is, you're gonna make your decision, which then is gonna lead to other things, okay? But I wanna read something to you that was mentioned a few times. The condition of being protected from or unlikely to cause danger, risk, or injury. Do you know what that definition is? Safety. Multiple times it was said that your main concern is safety. During my time in the Marine Corps, as an enlisted Marine, my duty, my responsibility was safety, okay? In multiple ranges that I would say range safety officer, we would always tell all of our Marines, everyone here is a safety officer. It is all of our responsibility for safety. I'm concerned that maybe there's a misunderstanding from the state on what the definition of safety means when they're putting such a facility near a school. Not just the safety for the children, but also the safety for those individuals that need a lot of help. So now, whatever comes of this, I just want you all to look in the mirror Because I understand, trust me, I've worked for the government, I still work for the government, so I understand when you have leadership above you and you feel compelled to stand next to something that you don't really, your moral values don't really align with. I understand that predicament, okay? However, in the name of safety, once again, my responsibility was to inform an officer when something was not right, even though that officer outranked me. It was my responsibility to stand up for my Marines when I knew something was wrong, regardless of the repercussions from my career, because they control my evaluations. So now I challenge you to please go home tonight and ask yourselves if you're putting your career and your political stance or whatever else is driving this ahead of not just children, but also these individuals that may be residing in that facility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jolene Stacy. I live up the street from this facility. Now, Mr. Perryman, I would like to address this to you. I have been on both sides of this coin. I have been hospitalized, and I've also been an independent life skills trainer, assisting individuals like this to regain their independence. I know what they're capable of. However, as an 8-year-old little girl who is just bombarded by the internet as it is, why would we throw this kink in a system that's already failing? Do you see this? We're not protecting our children. We are empowering them to be afraid, to go outside and play. I'm a 3rd-generation North Glenner living in the same house for 33 years. So please keep in mind that even with people who understand both sides of the coin, this is still not okay. Our kids are too close. What are you gonna do if something happens to my daughter? Can I hold you civilly responsible? No. Nobody cares. What are we gonna do, sue the state? Yeah. We don't have that option. Who is gonna protect our children? Please take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barb Lucero, and my parents moved into North Glen in 1961, and I've lived in North Glen on and off, more on than off, for 60 plus years. So I've seen a lot of changes in North Glen, and a lot of my friends who come to visit have seen a lot of changes in North Glen. Pre this mess, if you want to call it a mess, there are parts that are kind of sketch. The one woman or two that have said, hey, we don't even want to go to the park because there's a lot of homeless over there. I believe, Mayor, in one of the North Glen connections, you mentioned that there was more of a police presence at the shopping area on 120th and Washington. And even across in Thornton at the King Soopers on 104th and Washington, if you go there at night, they start blaring this thing about watching your back when you go to your car. There's not a blare, but they talk through an intercom, watch your back, look around. So this area's kind of had some transition. It was stated that North Glen's 7.5 square miles? So I would ask the state, we're trying the best we can to keep it safe before this. Why would you inject more trauma? Also, this was mentioned by a few people, they want to move. Everyone watch the housing market go like this when people find out there's this home in North Glen. Are they going to want to move here? Can you sell your home for what it's worth today? Plus the property taxes have gone up. So the mayor and all of these people on the council, you got your hands full now because people are upset. They're going to want to leave. People aren't going to want to move back in here. And it is a close-knit community, but once they're gone, are the new people that are coming in going to feel the same about this community? a lot don't speak the language and they're learning, but are they going to have the camaraderie that these people that have lived here for 20, 25, 30, 35 years have had? So my question for the police force is, or the state, how many of these individuals are in each of the homes? And how many counselors per transitional mental health patients are there? So is there 10 people per home? Is there 20 people per home? 30? And is there only one counselor on duty? I mean, you know. And then for the North Glen officer team, I don't know when this was thrown at you, but have you had time to assess your budget to maybe send a cruiser through there a couple more times to Stookie all the way to Kiwanis Pool and then back? If we're already having troubles at E.B. Rains Park,
Right.
which they can't be everywhere at once,
Yeah.
there's yet another roadway that they've got to kind of keep an eye on.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
That's all I had.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, hello. My name is Claudia Garcia, and my address is 11280 Grand Drive. So that means I'm steps from it. Those will be my neighbors. And yes, I live in those apartments where mostly they're all single mothers with children, and then so that's not the place to have these people. And then we still have our church that's just on the side where there's always families with doing activities daily. And I'm a mother of a daughter that was sexual assault, and right now she's been in panic all these days, and she's scared, and after she knew what's going on, she hasn't even got up from bed and go to school. So no, this is not the place, and we're surrounded by seniors and indefensive people, and so I think this is not the place, and I don't feel no sympathy by this people. If you do, we don't. And and if you take them to your home, if you really want to protect them and care for them, take them to your neighborhood or take them to your house if you really care for them, because we don't, and they're not welcome. I live across the street, steps, take them to your house, and they're not welcome.
Thank you. Ma'am.
Hello, my name's Jennifer Padilla, and I've grew up in this area my whole life, and I currently live across the street from this property you guys are wanting to do this at, and I don't think it was transparent at all. I didn't get the letter, nor did the other 49 residents where I live get a letter saying that this was happening. So I don't see any transparency. And I too, ever since this has happened, because I was a victim of sexual abuse, and I could tell you, Faith Winter, it's not just by people in your family, it's strangers and neighbors too. And it ruins you for life. I was never able to have kids. I was never able to do anything because it crippled me for my whole life. I have been on disability since my 20s, never having kids because I can't trust this world. What are you gonna do for these kids if something happens to them? Are you gonna promise them that you can't fix it? Because it's something that kills you your whole life. And if I have to be out on that street every day because I am disabled and I have nothing better to do with my time to help these parents protect their children who can't be there while they're working, then I will do it, and I will be the thorn in the side.
Thank you.
My name is Melissa Ryan, and I have been a resident of North Glen for 12 years. I never thought I'd have to write a letter to the state of Colorado protesting the opening of a mental health facility for registered sex offenders. I never would have thought the state would willingly give convicted criminals more rights than the law-abiding citizens that reside here. My concerns are as follows. There's a lack of transparency by the state to the city of North Glen and its residents. There's a lack of concern for the safety of children, elderly, women, families, community, and our businesses. Why does the state get to decide, override, and dictate what they deem more important than city laws voted in by the residents that pay taxes to live here? Why is the state willing to endanger children since the facility isn't within walking distance of schools, churches, public swimming pools, bus stops? This facility is 851 feet from Stokey Elementary, a 6-minute walk for these sex offenders. I find it interesting, appalling, and disgusting that 12 of these planned facilities are set to open throughout the state. What I find alarming, though, is the targeted areas. You won't find that these facilities are set to open and house predators in affluent neighborhoods such as Castle Rock, Highlands Ranch, or Cherry Hills Village. Instead, you will notice the state is targeting the working class areas such as Northglenn, Westminster, Pueblo, Lakewood, and Littleton, to name a few. Does the state feel upper class residents deserve safety and security over the working class? It feels as though you do and that you do not care. I hope the Colorado residents are aware of what these facilities will do. I would like to end my statement with some concerns. Actually, I'm going to forgo that because I have something else I'd like to touch on. I have a sister-in-law who's a diagnosed bipolar disorder and sociopath. Unfortunately for my family, on February 23rd of 2024, she killed my father-in-law after being released from one of these facilities in 2022 in the state of New Mexico. My kids will never get to hug their grandfather again. I'll never get to wish him a happy birthday. And she lived with his dead body for 7 days before I could finally convince the police and adult services to step in and help and get access into the house. I understand the need to want to rehabilitate, but as soon as she leaves every facility she's been in and out of her entire life, she stops her medication, she gets back on meth, she breaks into her parents' homes. And unfortunately, my father-in-law paid the ultimate sacrifice with his life. With that said, shame on you, the state of Colorado. Shame on you, Faith Winter, for backing and supporting this. Jim Smallwood is not here, but he was the Republican candidate that supported Democrat Faith Winter in this. It was a 50-50 bill. Shame on him. Shame on you, Bonnie Wright, for supporting and facilitating this facility and backing it and putting it into our community. Shame on all of you.
Thank you.
My name is Randy, and I'm a Northglenn resident of only 2 years. I live on 111th Place and have a very young family with 2 small children. My husband and I chose Northglenn on purpose because of the small town feel. This is not how a small town cares for and treats their residents. This place, to transition into the community, it's not supposed to be in the community, but a step towards. I'm not referring to the sex offenders. I'm referring to all the individuals suffering from all mental illnesses that will pose a risk to this entire community. Growing up, I was taught to admit the truth was to tell a lie, and you lied to my community. This was snuck into our city under the city's awareness because you knew you were stepping on our residents' toes. You're not just threatening the lives of our children's and the well-being of our children's. You were lying when you didn't bring this to the city and left that responsibility and burden on our already burdened police officers. Mr. May, you offered the explanation that these individuals are already in our community. My question to you is, how are you prioritizing the individuals within our community first? You said you'd answer our questions, so I want to focus my evening on pressing you all with my questions. What measures are being implemented to protect the safety of the residents in the vicinity, not just the children? What restrictions or monitoring is going to be in place for the home's residents coming and going from the facility? What mechanisms will be in place to enforce the zoning regulation? I'd love to hear how you plan to protect myself from these individuals walking out the door and turning left and not right down my street. How will the emergencies and disturbances be handled should they arise while residents are off the premise without supervision? Will there be an increased patrolling in the area, especially during high traffic school-related times? What is going to be done to minimize the children's exposure to areas where the residents arrive? And I'm not talking about Lattice. How do you plan to support our community's officers? What strategies are going to be put into play to support them when taking this undue burden on in an already clearly strained community? Where will the funding for these strategies come from? I'd hope that the state is bearing this cost because you've already put enough strain on this community by victimizing us and forcing this upon the residents. Lastly, what communication is being required of you to provide to the nearby residents, and what is your communication plan to get ahead of this and prepare us to protect our families? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is James Ledford. I feel that it's fitting that we're having this discussion in the same place that I was just at a month ago with my daughters at the daddy-daughter dance. And we're in Thornton. We just moved here a couple years ago. We've been in Colorado for a few years. We moved here for the same reason. We're closer to a smaller community. And I want to say, I guess, that I'm getting more comfortable with the community that I'm seeing here, and I think that the response is overwhelming. It's well known what the community is thinking and what the parents have for concerns about what's going on and what we don't know about. And when I came up here, I had a hard time finding a parking spot. And I think if there was more transparency on what was going on, that I would have had to park probably 10 or 15 blocks away. But I have two daughters that are before their teen years, and we're around the corner. We're not too far away. But one question is what other facilities are going to open up that we don't know about and we won't get the letter for when they're maybe in our backyard. So my daughters are going to school. We're looking at potential to be able to open things up for potential for homeschooling. Don't know what we're going to do that way. We do like the community. But there's other reasons to look into that as well. But my daughters have to walk around our neighborhood further away around all the neighbors' fences over to a park, which is a public place, and that part makes sense. But the buses aren't able to drop them off closer to our driveway or at our driveway. There's others that are closer. But I do see a lot of children walking by themselves. Some of them by themselves, some of them in larger or smaller groups. And think about my kids. My wife works from home, and she's most of the time able to get over to walk with them. Sometimes they have to walk themselves. And my oldest daughter has a watch, and she's able to communicate fairly well. But I'll tell you what, God knows that I'm going to do anything that I can to defend my children or anybody's children or grandchildren here. That's speaking out something like this or anything else in my power. And I changed jobs so I could be closer to my children's school because I was in Denver and it was like 55 minutes to get home.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Hi, my name is Danielle Luciano, and I am also a resident, like all of us. And it's very upsetting, and I can't say anything new that hasn't already been said, but I think a big point that we are all trying to make here is that we feel marginalized. And as other people said, this isn't happening in other cities that have higher socioeconomic status. We are a working class population, and this is a slap in our face. It is being directly placed in our laps. And Mr. May and Ms. Wright, I think you would probably feel a little differently if a institution like this was placed in your communities. I live in the cul-de-sac, 500 feet from this facility. I have a 6-year-old. She's not allowed to play in the front yard. So we do not go to Stookie, but we do go to school in the area. and this is very alarming. To go along with the marginalization of our community, how are we going to increase our wealth and our community's presence if we have all of these issues that we cannot get ahead of? Our police department has done a great job trying to get ahead of the homeless population and the drug issues we have, but it is an ongoing battle, and this is not the place for this kind of community. So a couple other things, Mr. May, you had mentioned that there will be 24-hour supervision. I would like to really understand what that looks like in detail, and I want to know what kind of what do we have as citizens to keep you accountable for this? Because the last place failed. I know it was a different land use, but it closed. So what's saying that this being ran by our wonderful government is not going to fail as well? And lastly, for all of you who are here today, a couple of us started a Facebook group. You can find us. It's called North Glen Residents Against the New Facility. So we can basically hold you all accountable and stop this. So that's my last question, is this a done deal? Is it a done deal? Because if it is, we need to know so that we can vote you all out of office. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Donald Schlaner. I've been a Ward 3, been a resident for over 60 years. And Bonnie, one thing I'm really disappointed in, you were asked a direct question by the mayor and you never answered it. Now, I am for second chances. My son's gone through a hell of a lot of them. Finally, after 40-some years, he's straightened up and he's working. He's not mentally ill, or he may have a slight tint of it. But, you know darn well, mental illness is not curable. It may be controlled, but it's not curable. And I'm tired of you telling me, oh, they'll get cured, they're going to walk out into the community. Taking medication or whatever is only as good as that person walks out, and when they decide to throw it, that's fine. They're gone, they're going to start screwing everything up. The recidivism rate is really high, and you know it. Alcoholism, I got a brother that's dead. He died of alcoholism. He blew smoke up, you know what, of every recovery institution he went to. After the first time, he learned what to say, how to answer the questions. And he turns right around, he gets out, turns right around, heads straight for the bar or the liquor store. I am tired of somebody in the state saying, I'm going to put this here, but you're not putting it next door to you. That reduces you to nothing more than a hypocrite and the bully of the playground.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisbeth. I live here in North Glen with my boyfriend and our little 2-year-old. To my understanding, the facility being built in North Glen is a level 1 facility, but it really bothers me that you guys say that this is to keep our community safe, because I read that level 1 facility doesn't have 24-hour supervision. So I don't understand how you're contradicting yourselves there. So I would really love more explanation on that. Just as the previous girl said, we want to know what 24/7 means. These people can come and go as they please, so why are sex offenders going to be housed here then? Also, yes, I agree that people need help. However, this is a cycle. And if these people expose, abuse, harm one of our kids, the cycle will continue, now with our own. Lastly, I was a criminal defense paralegal, and believe me, even after these sex offenders serve time, they are not regretful of what they did. They have no care, so find another place.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Marlon. I live in this community. I am a parent in this community, and also I lived here. I lived here for many years. My parents brought me to this community in 2000. Where the city is going, we do not like it. I have 2 kids, so I am also part of the Stuckey family. It's not safe for the kids. I am an active parent in the Stuckey, okay? I'm an active parent with the district. I attended Adams 12 schools as well. We just don't think there's gonna be safety for the kids. I see kids walking up and down the street all the time, 7:30, right there, up and down, anytime. That school is empty, I would say like 8 o'clock, okay? We release at 2:35. There's after-school programs till 3:40 as well. We have peak as well, that gets out at 5 o'clock. We have soccer in that field till 5:30. So there's kids all the time. Once school's done, we have basketball from City of North Glen has practice there as well. So we have practice in there. So there's no time where there wouldn't be any children. We go play at that playground as well. So when you guys had the opportunity to say the panel, at no time did I hear about the kids. And there's a lot of parents that wanted me to come up here. They asked for translation for this meeting in Polish and other languages, in Spanish as well, and it wasn't given. I sent emails to people, I didn't get a response. So we need answers. We need to know the safety of our kids. And I will protect my kids because I go to that school as well. And I'm sure everybody that goes to Stuckey knows me well. And they know that I will fight for the kids because they don't have parents to walk them up and down the streets. They don't have that luxury. They're working parents, so they don't have that. I've seen kids almost get ran over because they don't know how to cross the street, okay? So it's alarming. So at this point, we need to know, is it done? Because this is not the North Glen that I know. We are North Glen, and we don't need it.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are over time, but I'm not stopping. But I would like to say that the gentleman in the orange jacket will be the last one in that line. And then who is the final? You are the last one in that line, because we want to make sure that we do hear from everybody. Well, we're going to end it there because we're already over and we have other people that would like to comment. So you will be the last one in this line and you will be the last one in this line. Thank you.
My name is Jessica Sandgren. I'm a city council member from the neighboring city of Thornton. I am very grateful to see the turnout here, not just from the North Glen community, but obviously the Thornton community is also impacted by this, as is everyone else in this area. I think as a policymaker in a neighboring community, we understand as policymakers, we have home rule in our communities, and we create our own rules for the system that we live in because our residents might have different needs than communities south of here. Home rule is important because it is what makes us who we are in our communities. The fact that the state preempted the home rule of the city of North Glen is alarming and concerning at a major level. If this can happen in North Glen, this will happen everywhere. So your city council tried to protect you, your city staff tried to protect you, but the state of Colorado preempted. This is not going to work in our communities. We want to be able to trust our partners at the state who also help fund and provide grant money to some of the resources that we all use. But when this kind of thing happens, we can't trust. When no information went to the city of North Glen, the city staff, the city council members, and this building was purchased under the nose of city council, under the city staff, this could have been used for a multitude of things in the city of North Glen. They had no opportunity to use that. None. We have a housing crisis in the state of Colorado, potentially could have been used for something like that in the city of North Glen for North Glen residents. Instead, the state decided their own use. The state senators that are here in this room and the House representatives, my question to you is, can you bring forward a bill that would prevent that from ever happening? If you're going to buy any purchase of any kind in any city, you must notify, at the very minimum, the city staff, the city council, the mayor, so that we, as the elected representatives, can then inform our residents and start having this kind of dialogue before hopefully a done deal hasn't occurred. So I am very concerned about not only the preemption, we want partnership, not preemption. That's a theme going around, it has been for a couple of years. So help us do that. So my question that I would like answered is, can you bring forward a bill to prevent this from ever happening again?
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Joseph Velasquez. This is Victoria. We live off of 117th and Washington. So we are directly in walking line between the new facility and the Safeway, which is the closest grocery store. We're directly in the way of that place in the park, which is the closest place to recreate. I've lived here 40 years, my entire life. Chief May was my DARE officer. I've never been scared in Northland. I've lived here forever. I've even been walking through the park late at night to come home from work from the park and ride just last month. Little freaky, but not scared. Now I'm scared. I can't let my kid out my front door because these people will be walking past my house. You know, and so I'm a homeowner. And if you guys own your home, if the state's gonna juice our little city, we might as well juice it too. I'm gonna rent my place out and I'm moving. If this place goes in, I'm gone. I helped build the bridge at Webster Lake, that one that goes over, I helped build that. I used to volunteer at I'm sorry guys, I'm really upset. I volunteer around here, I work around here. And now I'm leaving. Been here my whole life. Me and my little girl, we're gonna go. And I plan to die here. My mom lives here. So, if this goes in, bye guys. Thanks, Senator.
Good evening. My name is Jan Coleman. I am the mayor for the city of Thornton. I'm a mom of 2 teenagers, and tonight I'm here as a neighbor. As my fellow council member said, this is not just a North Glen issue. This is a state of Colorado issue. I am used to being on the other side of the microphone, so this feels a little weird for me to be standing on this side. I'm used to being in your shoes, sitting at the table, listening to the community members and their voices, and I know how hard it is to be there, so thank you for being here tonight. I think what you're hearing tonight, though, is some frustration, to put it mildly. When I sit on the dais and we have a public project, we have lots of opportunity for public input before the project comes forward. It's a chance for the community to tell us what they like and what they don't like, and even if the project is probably going to go forward, we can make a lot of changes in the meantime to gain buy-in. And the process that brought this forward lost that opportunity to gain buy-in. So what you're hearing is not lack of compassion, you're hearing the lost opportunity to have that compassion. Representative Wilford, thank you so much for being willing to bring forward a bill. I know that's hard to do late in session, and I know how busy you all are. I am willing to help however I can. And Senator Winter, I hope you're hearing what we're all doing here, and I hope you will support anything that Ms. Wilford brings forward. And I'll just end with a few questions that I think the community deserves, because tonight's not going to be the end of this. So what will you be doing to gain back the trust that has been lost through this process? What opportunities are there to make changes to this project in order to have buy-in, to bring that compassion of the community back? Because I know how much North Glen and Thornton and Westminster and Littleton and Denver, I know how much these people care because I hear it from my citizens every Tuesday night. So there's an opportunity here that cannot be lost. And I hope that you are all looking for those opportunities. Thank you.
Hello. My name's Tom Lampo. I live in Thornton, and you will target my neighborhood in particular, okay? So I'm here to lift this issue in our communities up to God in prayer. I've stated in the past, and I'll state it again, we are living through a spiritual war that is manifesting itself in the natural. Our enemy is running scared, and now all they are left with is forcing this upon us. HB 22-1303 is just that. It's being forced upon all communities because evil is being exposed. In reality, try to understand that HB 1303 is part of a larger agenda. The evil in this world wants everyone to accept this behavior as normal. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, in Jesus' victorious name, you are the God of all creation. All glory and honor be yours, Almighty Father. In Genesis 1:1, your word states, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." All creation is from you. You created everything, and no one can take that away from you. Colorado has always been and will continue to be yours. In Revelation 22:13, your words are clear. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. You have been since before time, and you've seen it all. There is nothing our enemy is doing that he hasn't done in the past. Your word is clear on this, and it states in Ecclesiastes 1:9, what has been will be again, what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Biblical history repeats itself, and the stories of Jonah, Moses, and Noah all have meaning today. Our enemy is not creative, but he is crafty. Again, members in our community who have the smallest voice are at danger. The spiritual battle goes on, and again our enemy is targeting those that cannot defend themselves. As a nation in the past few years, we have made huge steps in righting the wrongs to the most vulnerable voices in our society. In 2 Chronicles 7:14 it states, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land." We've turned from our sin and you are healing our nation. Now our state has forced its will upon us because they believe this is the only way to deal with this problem. In your word in 1 Corinthians 3:19 you state, "For the wisdom of this world is foolishness before God, for it is written, He's the one who catches the wise in their craftiness." We are left with a foolish law and misguided wisdom. You alone can correct this. Use us if it pleases you, grant us your wisdom, and give us endurance to fight this evil. So we come before you tonight and we give you HB 22-1303. It's a burden upon our lives. In Psalm 55:22 it states, "Cast your burden upon the Lord and he will sustain you. He will never allow the righteous to be shaken." And likewise in 1 Peter 5:7, we are instructed to cast all our worries upon him because he cares for us. Protect those with the smallest voices. Give your peace and comfort. Let the words in Romans 12:17 through 19 be words for us to live by. Never repay evil for evil to anyone. Respect what is right in the sight of all people. If possible, so far as it depends on you, be at peace with all people. Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay," says the Lord. Guide us in your wisdom. In your precious and victorious name we pray. Amen.
Thank you as always, Tom. Hi.
My name is Bonnie Bell. I've lived in Webster Lake for 30 years. My daughter was in the DARE program with Chief May. And I've raised 2 daughters to adulthood and have grandchildren now in Australia. But my fear is for my community and the people that are afraid of what's going on. And I want to explain that I was the recipient of services like this. I suffered several incidences of depression that hospitalized me, and after 30-day stays of extreme control, I was put in transitional housing called IT House, which was intensive treatment, and it was a neighborhood house. It was well supervised. We weren't allowed out to go anywhere unless it was to a doctor's appointment or a group. And there were controls in place. We weren't just running the neighborhood. That was 4 times in 1 year that I experienced that kind of care, that level of care. It was necessary for me to transition from a highly controlled environment because I was ill. And I needed their smooth entry back into family life. And it didn't take right away. I had to go back. And after 4 tries, I finally got right with myself. But I needed a facility like what this is to help me do that. I was not a danger then, I'm not a danger now. Maybe my kids don't believe that, but it's an important aid in helping people transition back into their lives, into public lives. And I'm not a public speaker, but it's important for me to let you know that there are people like me that house is going to help. And no, I know, and I totally agree that there need to be measures taken or promises made.
Or no sex offenders.
Or another place to put those individuals. But people like me with mental health issues or addiction issues or anything like that, they are needing that help, and they are not a danger to you. But I do agree that the sexual offenders need a different location.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Delicia Johnson. I grew up here. I actually went to Mapleton Public Schools in Thornton, but I lived here, went away for college. I moved back specifically to be in Northglenn. First of all, one of the questions I really want to make sure that gets answered, was this forced on our city, or did our city believe this was good for Northglenn? Is the city going to get any money from the state to have this place in our community? Will that be transparent? Hopefully better than the transparency you've given us tonight. We already stretch our police officers very thin. Thank you, officers, for your service. I know overtime costs a lot of money. I know things like this is overtime, and I'm telling you, you're gonna be paying a lot more overtime for more hours like this. But it should not be our chief's stress and worry and to work his budget to facilitate 24-hour care. The state should be paying for officers to be around, especially if, and this is if this is already forced on us, so that's how I'm talking, but especially in the first several years of this facility being opened. The state should pay for extra police officers, not our city taxpayers, not our mayor, and our chief shouldn't have that stress. The state should, if this was forced on us. I'm sorry. You may not know us, and you may not have cared where you were forcing this facility, but we're here now. So again, you may not know us, but trust me, we all know your names now. And we will remember your names coming election time. And even though this room is so packed right now, I'm telling you, our voices are louder on social media. Our voices are going to be bigger than this room. And I know none of you have seen the lobby out there. There are people standing, watching. I know you hear the applause, but that is what I want to know. Is the state going to help us? Or is our city, our taxpayers, our chief gonna have to manage what you forced on us? I really wanna know if this was forced on us or if we picked this. And ma'am, you were in a power position. You were elected. We were asked here. We are here to get answers. The way you spoke to us and argued us was rude. Do better.
Thank you.
My name is Ernest Baer. I'm the pastor at Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, which is directly adjacent to the property. And I'm willing to grant you, all of you that were in favor of this facility, I'm willing to grant that you really want to do what's best for those residents that would be going there, those that need rehabilitation. As a church, we're all about rehabilitation and recovery and conversion and a second chances. So I'm willing to grant that you're trying to do what's best for those residents. But I'm the pastor of a pastor means shepherd, and so I have the job of protecting about 5,000 households that go to that church. You may have checked it out maybe on a Sunday night and saw an empty parking lot, but that would be about the only time of the week that it was empty. We have a number of things going on there. We've got about 251 children that are preschool to 5th grade that meet on Wednesday evenings, 54 weeks of the year for Wednesday evening programs for faith formation. We have about 100 middle school and high school kids that meet on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings there for their programs. We have on the weekend, we have around 2,000 people that go in and out of the building on a Saturday night or Sunday morning for all the different programs, baptisms, quinceañeras, weddings, funerals. We have about 94 funerals a year. I realize that with regard to sex offenders, there's no specific age there. Many people are assuming that's children, but it could be children or adults. But I feel like all of our parishioners are at risk. To some extent, anyway. We have lots of things. We have a big hall right next to the building. The part of the building that is closest to the facility is a great big community center. It's a parish hall. And about 35 evenings a year, we have various events in that hall. Wedding receptions, parties, all kinds of things going on. Usually Saturday night, Friday night, Saturday night. So into the evening, people are going in and out of that facility all the time. And we have a chapel where people go to pray 24 hours a day, overnight. So people are going in and out of the chapel, even in the middle of the night. So my job as pastor is to protect my folks as best I can. And so I'm just wanting to inform you about your neighbors, your potential neighbors. This is who we are. We're a big parish. And I'm concerned about them. And the one thing that hasn't been mentioned tonight, I agree with most everything that's been said, but so the first question is, to what extent will we have protection, while they're in the facility, while they're in the program? To what extent 24-hour supervision, what does that mean? Everyone has said that tonight. So how can I be assured that my folks will be safe if there's, people play in the playground? Our people they hang out in the playground, they park there. So how will my folks be protected? And the second thing that no one has said is, even if they don't reoffend while they're in the program, the purpose of the program, I presume, is to help them transition into the community, which means we're going to be trying to find jobs for them or houses or apartments for them so they transition from this facility into the larger community, which means they're going to live in the North Glen area after they leave the program, and everyone knows about the recidivism rate. So that's what I'm concerned about. They'll be living here even if they successfully complete the program, and then, the concern is about their risk of reoffending when there are pot shops and drug paraphernalia shops all around and lots of kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Justice, which is kind of funny because I'm speaking out for everybody. I live directly across the street from this facility. I have 4 younger siblings that are 9, 3, and 2 2-year-old sisters. I have an older brother that is not that smart. I mean, he likes to put water on an oil fire, which is not that smart. I am 18 years old, and I'm scared to even walk across the street. I have my mom right behind me because I have severe anxiety, which is surprisingly why I'm speaking out. When I was in elementary school, I went to a hospital because I've tried to kill myself like 100 times. Thankfully, my family have been super supportive, but that system was not. Not at all. And I don't feel comfortable with allowing my younger 9-year-old brother playing with his bike outside of our little yard thing that we have, a little roundabout. We have 2 parks that are right there in front of the facility. I shouldn't be afraid to let my little brother, my little sisters, my other little brother, my family be there, and we're income-based. We can't just get up and move. I have an uncle that is in a facility because of drugs and all that stuff, and I know my question is for you guys. I know some facilities do not allow phones in the facility, but outside of the facility, people do have the phones. Are you guys going to be checking the phones to make sure there are especially sex offenders, that there are no children pictures or people pictures all over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's John Ray. I'm a Thornton resident, but I own the business called The Courts, which is right across the street, and a lot of people don't even understand what that is. That's a sports facility for kids. Basically, we're open daily and have approximately 500 children at any given time at this facility. Our building is approximately 500 foot, but our parking lot is across the street. I'm not sure how this will affect our business as the parents find out what is across the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Inez Robinson, and I hope that your hearts are open to what we're saying. Some of you, I feel like you display that you're not, and I hope that's just not the case, and that's just my perception. But I want to say that I've been a Northglenn resident, homeowner for 33 years. Our Northglenn citizens are hardworking people who have raised our children in a small community, and now we have the privilege of raising our own grandchildren. Well, coming alongside our children, raising our grandchildren. And I appreciate everyone's comments. So proud that we are united here tonight. I didn't find out about this facility that would be housing sex offenders smack in the middle of a residential neighborhood is literally shocking and mind-blowing. And I didn't find that out until tonight on social media at 6:10. And I live in Northglenn. We are a small community, but we are a strong community, and we will not stop this protest here. And we want to know what are our next steps we can do to either stop this facility from moving forward, or if it does continue to move forward, we want you to know that we won't be silenced here tonight. We can't afford that because of the children that you have decided to put in jeopardy and have decided to put this type of facility smack in the middle of a family neighborhood. There has to be other places that you can put this facility to help these people, and but not. I've said it, and I've been, I'm repeating myself. So thank you for the time, and I just hope that this community will not stop here, and we will do what we have to do to make it a miserable place for them to be.
Thank you.
Thank you, and sorry that we'll have to do that, but it's our family.
Thank you so much. So we have 3 more, but I want to make sure, I know some people are starting to scooch out, but I want to make sure that you know that council will also be sharing very brief statements as well. So.
Hi, my name is Katie. I am a Northglenn resident. What I'm about to say is a little out of character. However, it is what I firmly believe. And I just want to give a big heartfelt thank you to everybody here who showed up. This is amazing. I am very proud to be a resident of Northglenn. I'm proud of our council. I'm proud of our mayor. I'm proud of our police department and all of our city employees. I know they are the messenger and they are getting definitely beat by the punching bag right now. But I do appreciate you guys for being brave and courageous and taking this. However, Faith, I truly believe that you are an embarrassment to the state. You do not represent everybody that is in this room, regardless of beliefs. You show up late. You do not answer a direct question from the mayor of this city. You sit up here for the last 2.5 hours, give or take, and you look like we are the ones inconveniencing you in your time. Whether you're on your phone or not, I have seen multiple people take pictures of you. You just look unfazed, which is tragic because we are pouring out our hearts to you. We have the support. Everybody else has answered our questions, whether we liked it or not. You are the only coward sitting up there, and it is a disgrace that you are part of this problem. So I hope that your face and what's going on in your brain actually retains this information of everybody pouring out their heart and soul to you, because I know that that hasn't been easy, especially the children that have been in this room, the courageous parents for having these tough conversations with their children. It used to be not age appropriate, and sadly, it starts a little too early. So again, thank you for your time, and thank you to our amazing city. And Faith, I hope you can do better with the remaining time on your term.
Okay, so as promised, this is our final speaker.
I was up here. I was just sitting down. I was talking to my husband.
Okay, we'll try to get moving. Okay.
My name is Tiffany, and my husband and I live in Northglenn with our 3 teenage boys. I've grown up here. I was born in this city, and I only moved away for a short time, but I loved it so much we moved back. My concern this evening is just to encourage you, because there's a great deal of stewardship that needs to happen. We as a community realize that stewarding the people that live here, the vulnerable, the least among us, and our children is one of our greatest jobs as a community. And we are trying to do that by sharing our concern with you this evening. My concern is that on the other side of this microphone, the decisions that are being made are not being stewarded very well. The individuals that are coming here that will possibly be housed in this facility, it's not a great facility for them. There's a great number of stumbling blocks right out their front door. That is not how we steward people who need to be rehabilitated. It is not how we steward those in our city. My concern for the police department is you're already stretched and understaffed, and the stewardship issue with you is only going to get bigger. So my encouragement, my imploring you is please understand the heavy stewardship of responsibility in your lap, because I guarantee you the city of Northglenn will not stop stewarding its people.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate everyone's time. I'll make this super fast. A location I haven't heard mentioned tonight is Boondocks. Boondocks is a children's arcade that's right across the way. It's about a block over on Community Center, and it's packed with kids 7 days a week. So I'm really concerned about Boondocks. My second point is I used to go to McElwain Elementary School back in the 80s. Police Chief May used to be my DARE officer as well. Used to warn us. That's not my intention, I swear. You used to warn us against the dangers of drugs and the very people who are going to be housed right next to us. So if this facility moves in, we're going to need you and your safety lessons more than ever before. Thank you.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. So I want to give our council an opportunity, because as you know, your representatives, your city council members are also residents. They do not have to speak, but you only get 1 minute. So I will give you the opportunity in order by ward, and then I have some thoughts myself. So Ward 1.
My name is Nick Walker. I represent Ward 1. And I just want to let you guys, I'm just going to take a different path here, and I'm going to talk to you guys. Elections have consequences, whether it's on the national level that we're learning from 2020 with high inflation, high fuel prices, or high groceries. They also have local consequences here. Electing people like Governor Polis and Senator Faith Winter, who are in lockstep 90% of the time, and who is also the lead sponsor of this bill and could not answer a direct question from the mayor tonight. What leadership? Also, the local consequences from electing leaders like that include the higher crime rates and the criminals who go free, Mr. Mason, because you refuse to prosecute. And now, the director of this department, who is appointed by the governor, is willing to place convicted sex offenders with your children. Elections have consequences, and your consequences are Mr. May and Ms. Wright. I hope you remember this when you go to vote for your next state representatives and governor. Thank you. And I stand with you. I stand with you, even if that means being on the sidewalk with the disabled lady who was there earlier. I stand with you.
Hi, I'm Megan Burns. I'm representative for Ward 1 with Nicholas Walker over here. I'm a mom of 2 young kids. I chose Northglenn, like a lot of you, because of the small town feel. I am the average age of the resident here, 36. Well, I'll be 36 next week. I think the thing, and you know, I ran for office and wanted this position to ease my anxiety around being able to protect my children from a lot of different things. And having this forced upon our community from the state and not having any power is just giving me extra crippling anxiety. You know, and I think we all agree that, you know, we want to see people helped in our community. We care about this community so deeply and everyone in it. I just feel that this location, there was no thought behind this. It seems very cruel. It seems cruel to put addicts across the street from a liquor store. It seems in a pot store. It seems cruel to put sex offenders in our community near kids. This just seems like a very cruel and harsh move from the state, and I do not appreciate it at all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jay Hadamil. I'm the Ward 2 representative for North Glen. And when I heard the news, it was very short notice. And when I had the opportunity that week, I went to the Capitol and I met with State Representative Jenny Wolford, and she was 10 toes in the pool with us. She's in there with us, and I'm very proud of her. And I want to say too that I also met with Senator Faith Winters, and I did not feel the same vibe exactly. And you caught that tonight, and I feel I feel the same way as everyone here. You know, I grew up here in North Glen, safe community. I want it to be that way always. I want to be able to raise my family here too someday. But things like this, it makes North Glen look like we didn't ask for this. We didn't want this. We don't want this. And it's been imposed on us. So I want you to know that our city council is united with everybody here who is completely against this. And this is not the space. We have such a small community. Everybody said it with the proximity for the schools, for the pool, for the bus stops, and even the liquor store and cannabis shop. It's the worst place you could put it in the city. And there's other places, but not here, not in North Glen, especially not near children, not near places where people can fall back into their addiction, the crimes that got them there, or into their. I'll digress, but what I want you to know is that the city of North Glen, we support the citizens. We are the citizens, and we do not want to see this moving forward. We hear your voices. Thank you.
That was called proximity. It's just a little strategy to get people to wrap it up. Councilmember Nowicki.
I won't take too much time. This has already gone on quite a while. I really just want to thank the community for coming out. This is a discussion. This is what dialogue looks like. This is conflict. Doing it in a manner in which we listen, hear. That's really important for our community, for our country. So I want to thank everyone for being willing to kind of show up, take their licks, I suppose. And for the community for showing up and voicing their concern, their opinion as well. Thank you, everyone.
Rich Kondo, Ward 3, and I am really, truly moved. And I've heard your voices, and I truly sympathize with the multiple perspectives here. As a former military person myself, I also have to applaud the courage, not only of Elias, Marine Corps enlisted men, but of anybody who was willing to come and just disclose some pretty horrific things. And that takes a great deal of courage. So thank you for doing that. The key takeaways that I will be carrying with me here out of this room is one, stewardship. I think it's important for us as elected officials to make sure we do justice by you. And that in part requires transparency and engagement with the public. And what really infuriated me about this process as it unfolded was it just didn't seem like the state was doing just that. So, you know, that I think reinvigorates me to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable, not only at the city level, but at the county, at the state level, that we do those things. And then finally, as a former military guy, and I know the mayor appreciates this, I like to use the word duty, and that is duty to protect, duty to be judicious with limited resources. You heard that as well tonight about our stretched police force, and that is my commitment to you all going forward tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is Catherine Goff, Ward 3. I just want to remind, or not remind, but really make clear to people, we did not know this was going to happen. No one asked us. It's just, they contacted our police department. The police department contacted our city manager. She contacted us. We tried to work with the state to try to figure out exactly what was going to happen. So this is not something we reached out for or planned or had any involvement in. So I just want everybody to know this is not something the city council chose to have happen here. And then I also wanted to thank all the people who did come out and talk. Over 50 people stood up here and spoke publicly, and I could tell some people were very nervous. Some people, as was mentioned, disclosed some very personal information, and that does take a lot of courage, and we want to thank you all for doing that. It's your voices that can make something happen here. So thank you all very much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm Jody Roper. I represent Ward 4. And again, thank you all for coming out tonight. Your words are powerful, and it's so important. I know one of the reasons why I wanted to run for council was because I wanted to represent the voice of my neighbors. I wanted to represent the voice of my kids. I wanted to leave a legacy for them. And the most frustrating thing in this whole process is we haven't had a voice. You haven't had a voice, and instead our voice has been taken away from us. My kids attended studio school, and I remember the first time I allowed them to walk to school. I was a nervous mom, and I would look out the window several times down the street. Now I couldn't even imagine being in that position, giving them the freedom to walk to school 2 blocks away. So I guess my message is, yes, we need to do better. We support you. We stand beside you. And to those who are making the laws and rules that are being pushed on us, to whom much is given, much is expected. And we expect much better than this.
Thank you everyone for being here. Shannon Lukman Hiramasa, Mayor Pro Tem. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your words and your stories. It hit me pretty hard listening to all of you. I've spent most of my life protecting people. I teach self-defense for a living. I'm on the Ralston House, which is an advocacy center for abused children. So I understand, and if there's one word to describe how I feel right now, it's fire. Because that's what I feel. I feel your energy. I feel your passion. You have a right to feel safe. And I heard that multiple times, right? You have a right to feel safe in your home. You have a right to feel safe in your community. And we're all a part of this together. It was asked, was this forced upon us or did we know? And you've heard it from my fellow council members. It was forced upon us. It was absolutely forced upon us. This was a facility that somehow was shut down for violations, and now this was put in without us even knowing. How does that happen? It is not okay. It's also an unfunded mandate. So when you ask the questions of how our police department expected to provide safety, that costs money, and that is true. That is called an unfunded mandate by the state. I'm also on the CML Executive Board, and that is one of the biggest things that we are working to protect. It is local control and stopping the state from preempting our ability to do what we feel is right for our community. And you can tell I'm also on fire right now. I do have to say thank you very much to Rep. Jenny Wilford, because I contacted her immediately and she was also fire. She's like, oh no, we cannot have this in our community. She was part of Northglenn City Council and part of enacting that ordinance that creates distances and requirements for where sex offenders can live in our community. And the state said, oh, well, you know, it's kind of in between that, but kids are walking back and forth every, am I over time? I don't feel the proximity. So I can go on. I'm obviously very passionate, but I want you all to know, as has been said, our city council does stand by you. We are behind you, and we do not believe this is the right place for this as well. It is not.
Okay, good questions, good questions. I hear that, like, so what, right? That's what I'm hearing. So, yeah, let's talk about it. My turn. So, no, absolutely, because I do want to get to the bottom line. That's what I have in my notes, right? First of all, I cannot say that I'm more prouder of our city than tonight. This is the most amazing show of support, show of community. You are amazing. Amazing. And I'm so proud of our city council because, as you can tell, they are completely united around this message. And I'm also really proud of our city, the staff, the police department. But also, if you noticed, I thought it was pretty cool that the mayor of Thornton showed up today. And I want you to know that I shared this story with all of the metro area mayors today. I wanted to make sure that they are all protected and that they all know about this process and that we can come together to figure this out. So, a couple of things. I think the bottom line is what I heard: move the facility. Move it. Put it somewhere else. Now, I don't know if that's feasible, but I think if we're making a list of requests, that was number one. Number two, commit to 0 registered sex offenders at this site. Now, here's the problem, and this goes back to, we keep hearing the word transparency, and okay. What it is miscommunication, because we have heard the plan is to house sex offenders. Then the news got involved and the plan was, oh no, we don't have a plan to put sex offenders there. And then the FAQs came out only on a news station website, not their website. And it said, well, if you do the math and you use the formula, there could be up to 4. The message keeps changing depending on who they're talking to, and that's what is lacking transparency. So my recommendation, number one, either move the facility, commit to 0. Don't say we have no current plans, because that is not the same. And we have to make sure that that's clear. Commit to absolute 0 at that site. I also encourage you to learn from this experience, because we do know that this House bill had a completely different intent than how it is being used, and that was my question, because I believe that the intent of this bill is being manipulated at this site, and that's a concern. So learn from this experience. Don't do this to other cities, and let Northglenn be a model for you. And then I have 2 other specific requests. I want to thank Jenny Wilford, our representative. And it really is true, as a Northglenn council member, she is taking forward the heart of her city every day when she goes downtown. And she jumped in immediately. She has been fighting every day. She has been on late night calls with me, late night calls with our city manager. She has been fighting downtown, trying to find a solution. And so she is our hope, right? So as I mentioned, I wrote the speaker. My request is that Jenny gets late bill access so that she can put forth a bill that will change the parameters, that will amend that original House bill. But here's my final request, because I'm wondering if it'll have a little more meat behind it. Because Senator Winter, you were one of the bill sponsors. If you were the one that went and said, can we please amend this bill? Because I heard from Northglenn. If you were the one who said, I wrote this bill and the intent was to do this, and it's not happening in this location, I think it might help. And so that's my request. So I'm going to wrap up there, and Senator Winter did ask if she could respond, and I would love it if you would, especially to that direct request.
Is this on? Yes, it's on. Okay. I feel like I have a lot to respond to. So first of all, the intent of this bill as originally passed was to increase the capacity of mental health beds because we were and are absurdly short in Colorado on our capacity for mental health beds. And this bill was celebrated throughout the mental health community. It came from the Interim Behavioral Health Committee. And I grew up as a daughter of a mental health nurse. And he would come home and tell me what it was like to send patients home when they had no home. And they added to the homelessness problem. And they added to recidivism. They just continually came back to his facility because there wasn't enough beds. And I knew more beds, more mental health beds. This wasn't sex offender beds. Now, we can't say sex offenders aren't in the mental health system, but this was adding beds to our system to take care of people so they didn't end up on the streets. And they didn't have recidivism. And that's why I passed the original bill. Now, the folks that talked about my face, I listened to every single story. And I heard every single story. And stories change hearts and minds. And I want you all to know that I was also reliving my trauma during this hearing today. No, you don't get to laugh at my trauma. I was sexually molested at 5 years old. I also am a... This bill was originally meant for more mental health beds. And I also want to address when I found out about this, because that's been a question all night, I didn't know until Representative Wilford called me. It's not that the state agency came to me and said, hey, can I place this in your district? Do you think this is a good spot? Do you think this is sited well? I didn't know until Representative Wilford called me after she was called by Northglenn City Council. So it wasn't that I passed this bill and suddenly said, yes, please place it on this corner in this community. I didn't approve that. That's not how it works at the state level. And I sat with the Northglenn City Council for an hour and a half. I missed an important vote and got in trouble for my leadership because I met for an hour and a half with Northglenn City Council. And they said, we want these questions answered from the department. So to hear that I wasn't responsive is also really disappointing because they said, I will immediately contact the department. I thought this problem this situation was important enough that I missed a floor vote and got called into the president's office for missing it. So, one, the reason I passed the bill was we need more mental health beds in Colorado. Two, I am a state senator, and 97% of people that go to jail come out of jail, and I have to actually solve that problem. And I'm not saying that problem needs to be solved in this community at this time in this facility. I'm also admitting that the department was atrocious, how they came in and how they told city council this was happening no matter what. It was atrocious how they entered the community. It was atrocious how they communicated with you. And I took North Glen's comments and questions to the department immediately.
Thank you so much.
And yes, I lived my own trauma tonight. And so if anyone has a problem with my face or my reaction, you can talk to me afterwards and I'll share my trauma with you.
Thank you for sharing. How do you feel about helping us moving forward?
Absolutely. I will fill in my late bill request tomorrow. I will try to get it through my leadership. My leadership's being really super tight on late bills, but I will fill it out.
Okay.
I will call the speaker and ask her to do it. 100% behind you, and we'll ask for a late bill request. I will just acknowledge my own power in this situation and say I think it's unlikely, but I will do everything I can to get a late bill request.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. I do also know that our district attorney and our state representative would like to make a few comments before we wrap up because we have been here almost 3 hours. Thank you.
Well, I was here tonight to take questions, had there been any, on criminal prosecution. So my job as the district attorney is to prosecute people who commit crimes. And I will just share with all of you that I think the state has handled this entire issue abysmally. I'm the district attorney for this entire jurisdiction, and I found out about this facility through the newspaper. It's outrageous, and I'm angry about it. And I can tell you my concern, respectfully, Mr. May, and to the folks that he works for, this putting a facility that will almost surely house sex offenders next to a school is going to create more cases in my office. And that's the last thing that we want. So I think this community has stood up loud and clear tonight, and for everybody who has asked, is this a done deal? I certainly wasn't part of the creation of this problem, but I hope to be part of the solution to it, and that is to not have it here in North Glen.
I've written so many notes of things that I want to share with you all, but first I'm going to start with a thank you. I think the guy with the dad hat said North Glen proud, and you know that I absolutely feel that tonight. I am really proud to live in this community with you all. I appreciate you sharing your stories. Some of them are really hard to hear, and I'm sure that they were even harder to get out. So thank you for showing up. This is probably going to be a little bit more candid than I would normally be, but when I met with the department and we discussed this meeting, I said, you have no idea what you're walking into. This community is going to eat you alive and you have no plan. Well, you guys did it. So I just want to say thank you because I think it's really important for you all to understand how important it is that you look at the community as a partner in this process and not as an afterthought. These individuals, our residents, have real lived experience, hopes, dreams, concerns that cannot be ignored. The fact that we found out about this facility in an email to our general police department email, not a phone call to our city manager, not a phone call to a state representative or a state senator or a district attorney or a county commissioner, anyone that has any amount of authority within this area.
is unacceptable. You guys can't do this again. You've got to figure it out. Also, for what it's worth, I joined the legislature last year. You all voted me in. I started serving in 2023. I was not in the legislature when this bill passed. After I learned about what happened via a call from our city manager, I have been relentless in trying to figure out what our options are and how to see them through, including writing this 3-page letter that has a lot of the same questions that you all asked tonight, and I sent it to the department and I have not received a response. That is also unacceptable. I hear you all when we're talking about the safety of our kids. I have a kid at studio. I have a 2-year-old growing up in this community as well, so I share your concerns. My son plays basketball at the local schools on a Wednesday night. That's where they practice. We go to Boondocks all the time, and for goodness sakes, that Kiwanis pool, when it's redone this summer, you better believe we're gonna be there constantly. So I hear you. I hear you when you say that you are concerned and it's unacceptable the way that this has been placed at our feet. I have so many other things to say, but I want you to know that I'm going to continue to stand up for you. I'm going to continue fighting. I'm not giving up. I have requested a late bill, as I acknowledged earlier, and I sincerely hope that Mr. May and Ms. Wright heard you tonight and are ready to come to the table and figure out a solution. Thank you all.
I did get a request to hear a response from our police department, so I'm going to let Chief May say a few words. Okay. Our DARE officer.
Well, for the last several years, from I can tell you as one of the police chiefs in the area, public safety has to matter, right? And over the last several years in our legislation, I don't feel that they took into consideration at true victims. And I'm going to get on my little podium here. Not everybody's a victim. You can't say you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim. You know, criminals, you know, they pay their due, you know, in jail, but you can't say they're a victim and put them in homes and everything else, because that loses sight on the true victims in our community, where we need to put resources and time and effort to try to make them heal. And there's a lot of people tonight that spoke from their heart when it comes to their trauma that they had, and you know, this situation like this throws it back on them. I wasn't as, you know, eloquent as the father when he was talking about, you know, forgiveness and everything else. And we do need to make sure that they can enter society, but there are places. And when I got that email, I already saw the red flags going off. You know, just like everybody listed. You know, across the street, we have single moms with their kids. Right next door to that, we have at-risk seniors. You know, right behind, we have the church. Right behind the house, we had that house. We have houses that back up that have, you know, kids at that residence. I see the kids going from, you know, the apartment complex, walking to the schools. And I can tell you, you know, some of the questions about that, you know, Afghan refugees that are here in our community. We work, the police department has worked with the mosque. We worked with Stookie Elementary School because that was a voice. We were on top of that one to make sure that they, you know, were notified, and that, you know, if we had to provide, we were already working on, you know, interpreters to be there tonight. We had some Spanish-speaking interpreters tonight to work with our community. We are a very diverse community, but I can tell you, working with those, but the school told us and the mosque told us that they wouldn't be here tonight because, you know, they have their Ramadan. So that's, you know, why they're not represented here tonight. But I can tell you, they were notified at, you know, from the mosque and those individuals. Public safety is super important. You see the officers around the room, my deputy chief next to me. You know, we have to do worst case scenario. So if this place comes in, if it had sex offenders, what were we doing? And we did work, you know, with the house and trying to give them suggestions on cameras and security and everything else. We didn't tell them to put lattice up in front of the house. We did tell them, clear that porch of seats and everything else, where, you know, if they congregate in the back, not in the front. So, you know, again, trying to plan that, keeping our eyes and hands on the, you know, on what's happening, and our hands on the wheel, make sure this doesn't, you know, happen. But I am so, again, being a part of this community for over 30 years, The mayor's walking up that proximity thing. Working with this community for over 30 years and living in this community, tonight I was just so proud of everybody standing up, and I'm just so thankful. And I made the right decision of, starting my career here and ending my career here in Northglenn. So thank you so much for coming tonight.
Not ending soon, by the way. That wasn't an announcement. That was not his retirement announcement, in case you were wondering. I know, be careful. Thank you so much. We are at 3 solid hours, and so we are going to let you go. But I want you to know that we have, if you have the comment cards and you leave them with us, we will follow up with you. We will also have some follow-up information on our webpage. Stay connected with us. Know that we're still fighting. You can find all of council's contact information on the website. Stay in connection with us. As things unfold, we will communicate with you. Please drive safely getting home, and thank you again.